Today I'm going to be showing you how to build this 40,000 lumen LED light tower. I'm going to show you the parts and pieces I used, how to put it all together, how much it cost, and it in use outside. This is a great light that could actually cost you a couple $1,000s if you were to buy it from a third party. So this light is 6 feet tall at its shortest height and is extendable up to 9.5 feet tall and is 31 inches wide and 35 pounds. Here are the parts I'm using. I've got the 4 LEDs, I've got the steel back here, I've got one 6-foot 1.25 by 14 gauge, and I've got 3 pieces of some 1-inch 14 gauge square tubing, and they're cut to different lengths just so I could fit them in my truck. They come in 20-foot lengths and I just cut them there. And then I've got a 16 gauge 25-foot extension cord, a 4-inch box that has a spot for a ground screw inside so this whole thing can be grounded properly. Then I've got some clamp connectors here, 1/2-inch knockout. Got a 1/2-inch bolt and nut for tightening it down. You'll see how that works. Then I've got some lock washers, and then I've got some M6 by 1 bolts here because that is the thread type of these proprietary wing nuts, and then some spray paint. So the first thing I do is pour a little paint thinner / mineral spirits into a bucket. Don't need very much, and I get a shop rag, some heavy duty paper towels, and that's what I use to clean all the oil off of the square tubing. Don't forget to wear some gloves, as this stuff in your hands don't really mix. I wound up doing 21-inch long legs because I hadn't really thought about the total width of the mast on this, and if I were to go back and redo it, I'd probably do 24-inch legs to give it a little bit more stability. So I'm just measuring from the tip of the 45-degree angle to tip, so it's giving it a pretty good lift off of the ground, which allows the cord underneath space to move, and you'll see that here in later steps. Right here I am notching it so that it can fit onto the corners of the square tubing to give it the tripod legs. It passed my highly sophisticated stair test, so back to welding and grinding. So this leg here is pointed that way a little bit too much. I didn't cut it perfectly square. So I need to cut the weld and move it over a little bit. So the purpose of this was to get it more balanced so that it couldn't tip over from one direction or another as easily. In retrospect, I should have splayed out the back 2 legs that were on the corners a little bit more, and that would have helped with this as well. Alright, so my trailer at the lowest thing hanging from the ceiling is about 74 inches. It's about right here. So I need to get this so it'll fit inside the trailer. So this light that goes on top here is about 11 1/4 inches tall to the base of this plate.
plate, and then it's going to be sitting on an arm that's made out of this 1-inch square tubing. So come down about 12¼ inches. So the top of these lights will be right at about 6 feet. So this right here is where I need to cut it to.
So I know I'm being somewhat arbitrary with the measurements because I was eyeballing a lot of stuff, but this is what it worked out to. About 22 inches apart for these back legs, whereas the front leg to the back legs is about 26 inches. Yeah, about 26. As far as the height of where they're connected to the central shaft, it is right at about 14 inches. About 14 inches from the bottom to where they connect to the base of it. You obviously can change these around. As I was saying before in the video, if the legs were splayed out a little bit more, it'd be a little more stable.
So now it's cut. And it's going to stop right there flush and come out the bottom just a little bit. It's going to come out the bottom about that much.
Right here I'm messing around with trying to figure out exactly where to put the holes needed to mount each of the LED lights. So I finally decided on doing 15-inch arms, and that was again somewhat arbitrary based on the width of the lights so they wouldn't bump into each other when I swiveled them around. Also, that measurement allows you to go into pretty much all exterior doors, which the smallest will be 32-inch doors, so you should be able to make it through those as well.
So I measured in 2½ inches from the edge. Does that seem like a good spot to put them? There went that one. Alright, so now I have to weld this electrical box on top. I could use some self-tapping screws, but might as well. Just anytime you're welding anything that's galvanized, you have to be even more careful about fumes. And I'm also going to be putting a clamp connector inside through the center hole. Alright, so you can see the box is welded to it, but it kind of melted the clamp connector there. It's welded on, but it also melted that, so I might need to replace that. Mission half accomplished. I've got to grind it down a little bit and then I'll spray paint it. One thing I forgot was I've got to create a little locking mechanism, so I'm going to weld this bolt to this piece of flat iron that I've got here. It's just welded. And this will be what I crank on to tighten it down.
So I wound up putting the locking lever about 6.5 inches down from the top of the shaft. All I did was drill a 1/2 inch hole and then centered the nut on it and tacked it in place. Electrico.
Alright, so I've got the clamp connectors clamping it down. I've got just enough excess to where it's not going to pull if this thing gets moved around. And clamp down, and then excess coming into the box. And I'm going to strip off the sheeting, and I've got the ground wire in there bonding the box and the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, ground, neutral, and hot. So yep, and then a bonding screw right there. I've got these red wire nuts.
Later that evening. Just imagine the Hallelujah chorus playing here.